Ahoy, caveman here, trying to get over my non-COVID-21 or whatever acronym and number we're using for a head cold these days. These last few days have given me some additional opportunity to think, not that I don't get enough of that already. And I'm struggling most significantly with this is just too bright, I'm sorry. It's not going to be a dark video. I'm struggling to reconcile the onslaught of the red pill, the unveiling of the truth, with reality, with life, with truth. And the reconciliation is trying to happen both in the present and also in the past. So in the present, and I'd like to make a caveat by saying the quote that Passio uses from Buddha is so telling. He says there's only two mistakes you can make on the path to truth: not starting and not going all the way. And while the vast majority of people in the world would appear to lay fault at the first one, they haven't started in any capacity. I'm afraid in the group of those that think that they are awakened, not even to say woke, laughable interpretation of enlightenment that is, but the group that thinks that they are awakened have stopped part way, and it might be 1%, it might be 95%, but they have certainly pulled up short, and it is not going all the way that is doing them the greatest damage. And it's like, well, who am I to say that? Well, because the foundation of information that Passio lays out, if more people had a grasp, what it really comes down to is natural law in its totality and what it means. Again, simply, we manifest our reality, and our actions, our collective actions of immorality will manifest slavery, our present condition, and or our collective actions, and that means collective of all humans alive in the present. Our collective actions, if they were more moral, would manifest more freedom. And as we can see, we're on a path of continuing to diminish our rights and liberties, so more slavery. That's how I know more people are not actually awake. So that's one of the big pillars of what I consider to be full truth. And then the other part is really starting to get a grasp for the depth and the breadth of the knowledge of all the secret societies. Those two things are what kind of sticks out to me lately as the juggernauts for truth and required understanding to be considered awake, or at least having that primary veil being pulled down from which you can kind of build from there. So I've kind of been in the throngs of trying to reconcile my current life and going forward in my past life. You know, it's one thing once you kind of red-pilled to a certain extent or awake to try to remember, okay, how does this overlay with my previous, fill in the blank, understanding of historical events, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, from the killing of JFK and other assassinations to what they said the world events were in the year 1000 to was Jesus a historical figure to, well, where did the pyramids really come from? And then also trying to transpose over top, knowing that all this information that I'm coming upon has been passed down for hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of years, trying to imagine what that process looked like without modern technology, and who were these individuals willing to sacrifice not not just their time, but the potential lives and livelihoods to transmit this information. And we're at such a unique time period right now, because we have the ability to easily capture, transmit, store, transfer, send, you name it, information through the hardware of computers and modern electronics, and also through, I guess you could say, the software of the internet. I'm not sure how that technically falls into a category. And we just take that all for granted, not realizing it wasn't that long ago everyone had to write something, much less lay out letters in a printing press, or, you know, dry scrolls so that they could scribble on them with ink. You know, we've got it so easy in that capacity. So, and I'll try to make this short because it's just trying to capture that I'm in the middle of struggling. It's not the information itself so much, because I've digested a lot of what Mark's talked about, and I realize there's other great people out there. In fact, I've put Mark down for a few days, and I've gone towards Michael Thyself's work, and I don't know, I've already listened to 5 or 6 hours of that, because Mark referenced him, his oracles and origins, and therein lies some of this reconciliation of trying to come to terms with the fact that nothing is what it seems it is, you know. And it's one thing when someone starts to understand that about their present, like, cereal isn't healthy. Oh my, hold on, this government recommendation is not in my best interest. Oh wait, the government's a fucking evil entity. You know, that in and of itself is its own very hard to come to terms with, reckoning for anyone, especially in the modern sense. It's one thing for someone to look at historical events and say, well, yeah, it would seem as if gosh darn it, the government probably just didn't know any better. It's like, no, they are always at all times acting against your self-interest, because that, by definition, is what they're designed to do. It is to feed themselves the power of the citizens. In no way are they designed to help. There might be individuals within the system that might have a good heart, but they're unfortunately tied to a black morass, and for that they'll never be able to make any positive change. And I digress. So that's different parts of this waking up. But, you know, a lot of people will say, well, at least I have my faith. And I'm going through now the unravelings of what all religions are, where they come from, how they're rooted in astrotheology, and essentially they were just following the stars or the sun or the moon, which the stories are great. And you're like, wait a second, that's not real. And I can accept that organized religion has always been a farce. It's like, okay, well, there is some legitimate, positive, esoteric meaning behind that they've been hiding. So you pull back the layers and you find that, and you know, to sum that up real fast for you, it's about know thyself, look inward, and you will find the answers. The secrets of the universe are mirrored within as without. You know, if you can know oneself, you can know everything in the universe, right? Okay, that's it. That's what religion is not telling us, and that's how they're controlling us. But as people start, if someone goes down the path of searching truth, and the pieces start to fall away for them, they always have somewhere to go back to that they know as a point of truth, until you get deep enough and you realize that it's all been a lie, and where there are exceptions are the genuine interactions you have had with others, or the expression of love that you can point at and say, no, that was real, and what this emanated from was real. But anything as far as an institution goes, that, you know, that's going out the window. So I'm at this point where I'm tearing all these veils down more and more and more, and when you juxtapose that with where we are right now in the present day of the accelerated global tyranny occurring in the last 2 years, it's like, well, yeah, this is awesome, that I'm learning all this now, but holy shit, this is a lot to have to come to terms with all at the same time, because first you're coming to terms with everything you thought you knew is a lie. Then you're coming to terms with the depth in terms of time regarding the history of the evil that has existed far beyond the history that we even talk about. Forget just the 5,000-6,000 years ago where we say, yeah, man seems to start with, the Phoenicians or whatever. No, it's tens and hundreds of thousands of years before that. It's like, okay, so wrapping your head around that and realizing that the dark occult machinations. But when you fast forward back up to the present day, you're like, oh my God, but they didn't have, well, as far as we know, they didn't have the internet in this ridiculously fast reach of people, at least within the last 6,000 years. What a significant moment we are in right now in this post-COVID rollout. I mean, that was just the testing grounds of how fast and effectively can they implement something, vis-a-vis the fear campaign, and allow that to be tied to the absolute dissolution of rights and freedoms. And that's what we're seeing happen in the last year and a half. So here I am trying to reconcile all this new truth, the natural law stuff, the breadth and scope of the evil and dark occult machinations and power behind everything that exists in terms of all institutions that control people. It's like, okay, overlapping that with what I thought I knew as history, and throwing that out the window and trying to learn the new history, realizing all things that people used to hold as dear and safe and true are all have been concocted to control them. Okay, and there is the silver lining that you can understand what real enlightenment is, and that the power ultimately is vested in each one of us, that the Christ is within each person. That's what they don't want you to realize. They want you looking outward for an exterior savior waiting to come back. It's like, no, that's not happening. We're just entering a new phase of the zodiacal procession here. That's going to be the coming of the next age. But it's a lot to try to digest and reconcile. And I'm in this moment of awakening and enlightenment, realizing, like, it's one thing to wake up and realize it's all been a lie, but I'm waking up on the ride that is going faster and faster just in very, very recent time. And I know for anyone that would be waking up, it's all going to seem relative and it's all going to seem really fast, but the things I laid out are parts of an awakening that most people would never even allow themselves to entertain. Everyone's got their sacred cow, whether it's their normal religion, like Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, their belief in government and authority, the big one, their belief in money. For me, the only one that still stands in contrast for what Mark talks about is my belief in eating meat. That's a whole nother conversation. It's like I'm letting all those fall down. And it'd be one thing if I came to this understanding 5 years ago before COVID, because I'd say, well, it would appear that America still has this somewhat relative sheen of freedom for us here. We've got a little hope in time, but now that we've hit COVID, it's like you're Neo and you just took the red pill and you're waking up on a roller coaster headed downhill at an accelerating rate, and you're not sure, but that looks like that could be the bottom right there, and you're due for this big implosion, and yet you look around and the vast majority of people are sound asleep, or they're on the ride next to you and they've got their VR headset on and they're laughing and they're smiling. I'm having a hard time coming to grips with all of that so quickly. And I think when I started this, I had some sort of positive end note for it. I mean, the truth is always empowering, don't get me wrong. But at times, yeah, the journey's certainly a little daunting. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to go in and listen to some more Michael Tessarion to get an even more firm grasp on astrotheology, so I can really get to the core of understanding the truth of all of the systems that have been programmed in me, to clean those out and get those programs running either deleted or running properly. You know, we owe it to ourselves not to waste our time listening to lies and believing lies, but to spend our time not only pursuing the truth, but absorbing, digesting, and then regurgitating, and then reteaching to other people that very truth. Because this isn't about sharing your favorite story with other people. It's about spreading truth to other sentient beings, to other humans, so that the expression of consciousness, so that the creative force of consciousness, the positive creative force of Trog, of God itself, can grow. You know, to put it simply, like this is our duty. So I gotta go sort it out. I'll see you later.